What is up, guys? Brett here with Infosmercial. In this video, we're going to take a look at comparing the Crane 2 with the Ronin-S and trying to figure out which one should you get.
Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Now let's dive into comparing these two side by side. Now, when you look at the weight of both the Ronin-S and the Crane 2, neither one sounds like a particularly large amount of weight, but anybody who's used a gimbal for an extended period of time knows just how much these gimbals can weigh down on you, your joints, your wrists. The more you use them and the longer your production day goes. So every ounce of weight counts. And having said that, it's easy to see that the Crane 2 is the clear winner in terms of weight. The Ronin-S, yep, that's hefty, 4.1 pounds, but don't take my word for it, try holding one. Now, when we're looking at payload capacity, this is where the Ronin-S is a clear winner in my book. Both of these gimbals, rated at 7 pounds and up for both of them, will handle just about any single DSLR and lens combo you can toss at them. Having like the Canon 5D Mark IV with a 70-200 lens is still going to come in well under 7 pounds. Rest assured, both of these gimbals will do well, except the Ronin-S wins in the upper echelon, so hats off to DJI. So then there's battery type, proprietary versus a standard 18650. So then the capacity. Well, again, first round TKO knockout by the Crane 2, 6,000 milliamp hours versus the 2,400 milliamps of the Ronin-S. So just from the tech specs, it kind of looks like that the Crane 2 has an almost unfair advantage in a lot of departments. It weighs less, it lasts longer, it has easily replaceable batteries that you can buy extras of right now, and the Ronin-S weighs more. The only thing the Ronin-S really does better on paper is it has a higher payload capacity, and that actually could be the difference maker for some of you out there. But the tech specs don't really tell the whole story. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of different features, usability options, things like that, that factor into how good an actual product is. So let's take a look at some of the pros and cons of each of these individual gimbals. Let's start with the Ronin-S. Quality build materials, that's a big pro. From the times I held it at NAB and CES, the ergonomics on it are actually pretty darn good, so it's relatively comfortable to hold. Kudos to DJI for picking good materials and designing a pretty solid gimbal. The biggest pro of this thing is the 45-degree offset roll access. Now again, this thing gives you an unobstructed view of your camera's screen and viewfinder, making it easy to not only see what you're shooting, but adjust things like your camera settings, yada yada. That's a big deal. Kudos to them for implementing that design change. Indicator lights for the different modes. Having indicator lights and some sort of, heads-up display on the Ronin-S, that's a plus. Not a big one, but a plus. Now, modularity. This is a plus, but it also has its downside. The plus is that modularity is cool, but more than just being cool, what it means as a consumer is that the Ronin-S and its modularity kind of comes as a one package deal. Anybody can buy it and anybody can use it from any level. The downsides to it are, well, that some of these things are going to be sort of expensive when they start coming out, and all of the connection ports are proprietary, which basically cuts out any third-party options. So you're stuck with whatever DJI makes, and that's really it. The thumbstick. So they have this thumbstick that's very reminiscent of the ones that they use on like their drone controllers and everything. So if you want to make very small adjustments, the thumbstick is perfect for that. So kudos to the thumbstick. Now, another big pro is charging. What does that mean? Well, the Ronin-S has a built-in USB-C port, and this is how you recharge the battery. One of the handy features of the Ronin-S is actually that you can use the gimbal while it's also being charged. That's pretty handy. Now, onto the cons. So the first con for the Ronin-S is the price. It's less than the Crane 2. How does that make any sense? Well, strictly speaking, yes, it's $50 less. So in terms of actual dollar value, it beats the Crane 2 on paper. But you're getting significantly less value for your money with the Ronin-S than you are with the Crane 2. There's no built-in screen. DJI wants to sell you an optional screen add-on, and that's gonna cost a few bucks. And there's no included focus motor that ensures universal lens camera combination compatibility, say that 5 times fast. And that focus module is also something that DJI wants to sell you. That's more money, adding to the cost of the 699 bucks. So you have to ask yourself, is it really just 699 bucks? Because when you start tacking these things on, we're hitting about $1,000 or more, and this thing becomes significantly more expensive than something like the Crane 2, just to have the same features that the Crane 2 already comes with. And then there's the focus wheel. So the focus wheel itself isn't a con. That's actually a good thing that they included this with the Ronin-S. Unfortunately, it's only compatible with Panasonic GH5, GH5S cameras. You're limited in lens and camera compatibility. Now another one, and this one is probably going to go a little bit unnoticed by a lot of people when they're first looking at the Ronin-S, but the lack of accessories available for the Ronin-S. If you need something that you can sort of rig up into a full-blown cinema videography machine, you might want to wait until more accessories are available for the system to satisfy your every videography need. That's so cheesy. And the last one is camera compatibility. You really can either stop and start recording on your camera, or it's just the Panasonic GH5 or bust. That's really it for the cons of the Ronin-S. Let's take a look at the Crane 2 now and see how things stack up there. Right off the bat, the first big pro of the Crane 2 is its most obvious feature, in my opinion, the OLED screen. There's a whole number of things that it can do for you. So for Canon cameras, you can adjust things like your shutter speed, your aperture, etc. You can also access advanced controls for the gimbal itself, so you can adjust things like motor strength. Being able to control and do these things right in the gimbal without having to break out your smartphone is incredibly helpful and much faster, in my opinion. So the second biggest pro for the Crane 2 is the included focus motor. This is something that Zhiyun started doing recently. So for 749 bucks, you get the Crane 2, and then you get the included focus motor as well. This gives you 100% camera lens compatibility with your Crane 2 gimbal. So now you can focus pull with just about any lens combination you can throw at this thing, including some bigger bodied cine lenses. The next one is batteries. So it's a standard 18650 button top battery. So this is a standard created product. In this case, I think the standard is, that's a big plus right there. But moreover, you get a higher capacity on the Crane 2 gimbal. So you have 6,000 milliamps versus the 2400 of the Ronin-S. That is a huge pro for the Crane 2 as well. The number of available accessories for the Crane 2 is getting really, really long. It's a long list of available accessories, whereas the Ronin-S basically doesn't have any at the moment. That's a big plus for the Crane 2 because Zhiyun and third-party manufacturers have done a great job at creating accessories for the Crane 2 that work really, really well. The size and weight of the Crane 2 is a really big deal. It comes in at 1.4 pounds less than the Ronin-S, and that's huge when you're working on long production days. Even on like moderate length production days, just try holding one of these gimbals for more than 15 minutes in a row and you can feel it. You can definitely feel the burn. So let's move on to the cons of the Crane 2 and see what we find. So the first con for the Crane 2 is the position of the roll motor. It's blocking your screen, so it's tough to effectively use it as a viewfinder, and it's difficult to access and change your camera's settings with the roll motor position where it is. And so, yeah, that's a downside of the Crane 2. The next big con is the Thumbstick. The Thumbstick works if you need to reframe your shots or you're trying to follow motion sort of quickly and stuff like that. Where I find difficulty with the Thumbstick is making fine-tuned changes to your framing. So if I'm capturing B-roll or footage of myself or whatever the environment, and I want to pan through a shot, it's difficult to get exactly the right motion that I might want with the Thumbstick. And what I have to do is essentially open up the ZY Play app, adjust the joystick settings so that way it moves at a slow rate, even if I just crank the thing, and then I can get the panning and tilt motions that I would like. Another con is charging. There's no charging the gimbal and using it at the same time. So if you happen to run low on batteries and you're in the middle of a shot, or you don't have time to swap out batteries, you can't just plug something in and continue to go. You have to swap out the batteries. And the next con is I'm kind of reaching on this one, but it's a lack of modularity. When you buy the Crane 2 gimbal, what you get is what you get. And that's basically it. So you can build up a Crane 2 rig by adding in dual handle grips and stuff like that, but more or less everything is just built right into it. So that's a con of the Crane 2. It's not really a con, but it's on there because, well, it's cool. DJI has it, Crane 2 doesn't. Probably don't need it, but I want it. So we've compared these two gimbals side by side, and now the question remains, which gimbal should you pick? Now you have to use your own judgments because some of the features of one gimbal may appeal to you more than the features of another gimbal. My overall pick, of course, would be the Crane 2. I think it's hard to deny the overall value that you get out of the Crane 2 package, and I think for most people who are interested in purchasing a handheld gimbal nowadays, even working professionals, the Crane 2 offers a significantly better value. Moreover, it's something that you can buy today and take confidence that it's fully supported in both accessories, firmware, software, camera lens combinations. It has a really high payload capacity, it weighs less, etc. It's way too much to ignore, and that's what I think. I would pick the Crane 2 all over again. But again, you have to use your own judgment. So let me know what you guys think. Which gimbal would you pick and why? Let me know in the comments section down below and we'll get the discussion rolling. But other than that, that is it for me today, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.